3 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome aboard the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Thank you so much for being with us and spending part of your afternoon on these airwaves. A lot to get to today. I'll try not to sound depressed when I talk about the U.S. Open.
Why would that be? Why would you be depressed?
I'm not a big Bryson DeChambeau fan. Never really have been. And I was not at all pulling for him yesterday. In fact, dare I say, I was kind of pulling against him. Not in a mean way.
Yeah.
Not in a mean way. I just like Rory more.
You're a big Rory guy.
I am. Not real key. Again, I didn't like Bryson when he was on the tour. I don't like Bryson now that he's on the LIV tour. And my God, the LIV people today. You'd have thought everybody in the U.S. Open was a LIV golfer. I'm like, the rest of them really didn't do jack squat, but that's cool, LIV people. And yes, I am one of those guys. I love golf, and I don't like the LIV tour. I freely admit that. I will not shy away from it. I won't alter my stance. But good for Bryson. Hey, listen, it's really bleeping hard to win the U.S. Open. That's a hard course. I was actually surprised that there were as many, and there was only a handful of golfers that finished under par for the week. So
tough course.
Yeah, man. Some dudes that are really good were made to look humbled and foolish.
How sick to your stomach were you in the 18th whenever the USA chants are being broken out for Bryson DeChambeau?
I don't get that. I love my country as much as any other person does.
The guy who left the country's biggest golf association tour.
Yeah, but it's not. For one thing, this isn't the Ryder Cup.
Right.
This isn't the President's Cup. This isn't the Olympics. Why? And here, Rory, I think Rory has lived in America for since he was 21 years old.
He's got citizenship.
Yeah, he lives in Florida. He's in his 30s. He's been here almost 20 years. It's what are we doing?
And 20 years in Florida is like 40 years in the rest of the continental United States.
I didn't get that. I didn't get the pulling. I didn't get that. Whatever.
To each their own.
Yeah. Coach Bill McDonald will join us to discuss Bryson's win, and we look ahead to the final major next month. The Open Championship. I can't remember.
My favorite one.
Is it? I didn't look, but I think it's at Royal Troon. Am I right about that?
Yes, I think that one is.
I think that's right.
I just know it's not a St. Andrews year.
No, it's not. It's not. But we'll get into that for you. Got a couple of big sporting events going on as we speak. College World Series elimination game. Florida has taken the lead on NC State. State struck first on Jack Caglione. But Cags made a pretty good stand after that, and Florida has now scored 4. Loser goes home today in this one. Florida up on NC State. Still early, though. Game started about an hour ago. And France and Austria at the European Championships. We'll keep you updated on what Kylian Mbappe, the best player on the planet, and I guess how many people are making more money playing their sport than Kylian Mbappe is about to make with Madrid? I think there's a couple.
I think that answer is nobody.
I don't know, but he's going to make it's like €1 million a week, which I think is about $1.05. It's not like the pound. So basically a little over $1 million a week is what he's going to make playing for Madrid. We know Mahomes restructured his deal. Shohei Ohtani has his deal, but Shohei's not making $1 million a week, is he?
No.
I know that Trevor Lawrence's value comes pretty close to that with what he just signed because it's like the second biggest contract. And then, some NBA dudes. I know there's getting ready to be some NBA dudes that are probably about to eclipse that. The thing is, Kylian will just get a raise. I wonder if that's in his contract. You know how some guys have it in their contract, I have to be the highest paid guy?
They're like natural escalators in there.
Yeah. But NBA dudes, I don't know, who we got? LeBron, Steph, KD.
LeBron's probably getting close too.
What's Giannis making right now? Is he up there yet? Probably not quite there.
Mahomes is only 45.7.
Yeah, and he restructured his.
Giannis definitely had one of those.
So anyway, we'll keep you updated on what's going on there. Some Gamecock baseball news. If you didn't hear too, Mark Kingston will become the head coach at Creighton in a year's time after their coach retires. Happy for Mark, as we just talked about with Terry there. Elijah, I think you heard the end of it on the halftime show. Listen, Mark did a good job, but Mark didn't do a good enough job. And I think everybody began to understand that was coming. But as Coach Maneri and Coach Tanner said last week, listen, the program's in good shape. It needs to be in better shape. But and you and I talked about this during the search. This is not a program, that won, 6 conference games and missed the SEC tournament again or something like that.
They didn't just get off a winless season or anything like that.
But there's definitely, a piece or two, some things that are missing that Ray Tanner believes Paul Maneri will bring back into this program and do so, I would think, rather quickly. Speaking of which, there is some good news. Carolina picking up a really solid transfer from out west. So this is a big get already for the new staff.
Mm-hmm.
Dalton
Mashore.
Dalton Mashore from St. Mary's. Thank you.
Second team All-WCC player, was in the All-WCC tournament team this past year, too. Second on the team in batting average, hitting a hearty .338, which was a big jump from his first year at St. Mary's, where he was hitting .240. He was a JUCO transfer, so he's got 2 years at St. Mary's. This was his last year of eligibility. But he went from .240 to .338 in a year's time.
Yeah, I will be perfectly honest with you. I don't know a ton about that league. It's good. It's good. I mean, and again,
you'll have Oregon State in it next year. And Washington State.
It's weird. It's just weird. I don't like that.
Not going to be tuning in for Pacific versus Washington State next year? Is that what you're telling me? Is that what I'm getting here? No St. Mary's, Oregon State matchup for you?
Unlikely. I don't know, maybe a little bit here or there. Speaking of which, we'll get into a few other things. On Friday, our last show, we had the story of the Big 12 potentially exploring naming rights opportunities. It was confirmed that the Big 12 and Allstate Insurance have been in discussion about potential naming rights. There could be others. We learned today that several Group of 5 conferences are going to explore this as well. I don't blame them. And you and I were talking about one guy who's tried to make a name for himself on Twitter with a bunch of stuff about the Big 12, and the guy was taking the same line that I thought the Big 12 took last week. It feels like the Big 12 believes, oh, hey, watch this. Nobody else is going to do this, and we're going to make as much money as the SEC and the Big 10. Not if it works. If the SEC and I know, like we said last week, some people in SEC and Big Ten country will not like that. And I get it. They don't like what's happening now. And I get it. But new revenue streams are a must. NIL is here to stay. The transfer portal, as it is here to stay. I say that with a caveat. The caveat is if you find a way ultimately to collectively bargain in some capacity. Otherwise, I'm going to repeat something that I have repeated a bunch for the last several months, if not longer. You can't restrict the rights of free Americans without their consent.
You basically just summarized Sherman's antitrust law.
That's against the law. It's so easy.
It's a history lesson.
Yeah, it's just so easy to understand, and yet so many people in this country just do not want it to be.
For college athletics.
Yeah, and well, that's the way it's always been. A lot of things have been, So anyway, but if this is successful for the Big 12, what's to stop, again, some other major corporate entity from approaching the Big Ten and or the Southeastern Conference? And again, if I'm Jim Phillips of the Atlantic Coast Conference, I am already doing this too. It's too bad. I say this a little tongue-in-cheek, a little. It's too bad this isn't like 30 or 40 years ago. Like for years, for a couple of decades, I think, the championship of NASCAR was the Winston Cup, right? Named after the cigarette brand. Which, and R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company is headquartered in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. It's too bad. I'm kidding.
Seemingly.
Yeah, that the ACC, hey, like let's see, the Camel Cigarettes ACC basketball tournament, the Winston's, the Winston ACC championship, the Salem, I don't know, the Salem baseball tournament. I don't know what other
The
brands they make.
Marlboro ACC championship.
Well, Marlboro is
game.
another company.
It's a different company,
different
but-
company. That's.
But they could one up each other. That's the thing.
Sure.
This
Well,
is
yeah.
the competition aspect of it.
Or you get Philip Morris. That's the Marlboro folk. You get them to compete with R.J. Reynolds or whatever their companies are called now. I think they've both turned into some other conglomerates that use all their cash windfall to buy other stuff. But it's too bad the ACC can't do that because there's plenty of cash there. Krispy Kreme.
Always has been.
Krispy Kreme, headquartered in North Carolina. Bank of America, headquartered in North Carolina. There's other companies that they could get it done.
It could be a lot of fun sponsorships
Biltmore
for this.
Get the Biltmore folk, the Vanderbilts. They're not the Vanderbilts anymore, but they got a little bit lying around.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing
Just
okay.
give to you.
Yeah, they're doing okay.
For some advertising.
The Biltmore House ACC tournament. Why not? So my point being,
Big house.
the Big 12. Sorry, I hate to say, and listen, I like the Big 12, but that's not. That doesn't matter. The Big 12, it doesn't have a brand in it that is bigger than Alabama or LSU or North Carolina or Michigan or Ohio State or Florida State. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. I mean, and that it's a good league. You and I have been talking about it. Football, basketball, great. I mean,
It might be the most fun league in college football this year in terms of just total parity and drama.
which is great. Again, I'm here for it. I'm going to watch. I like what they're going to put on the field and or court. I do.
Court especially.
But don't think for a second that you're as we said on Friday, pulling a fast one. And again, now you got Group of 5 conferences doing this. But if I'm the ACC, I'm exploring it. And the SEC and Big Ten, like they do in a lot of other things, they've pushed it where they want to push it. Otherwise, they will sit and wait and watch because they're doing just fine. Thank you. But if there's a cash windfall to be had, don't worry, they'll get it, and they'll and someone will come to them. They will have multiple bidders and suitors to put their name on stuff, and you don't have to rename it the Coca-Cola Southeastern Conference, but you could find a way to incorporate it into the logo. Presented by is always one of those fun ones. There's a lot of them that are like the Rose Bowl, right? Like the Rose Bowl, presented by AT&T, as opposed to the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl.
You can get creative with how you
FedEx
say
Orange Bowl. Those are, like the Rose Bowl's like, no. We're not going to be the blank whatever Rose Bowl. But sure, presented by. We'll do that.
We will take a small corporate sponsorship while we try to wreck the future of college athletics.
The Southeastern Conference, brought to you by Waffle House.
Now that's appropriate.
Yeah. You just get all those Atlanta companies, man. Delta, Coca-Cola, Waffle House, UPS, Truist. You just get all them together. You got yourself some sponsors, man.
And even more money than you already have.
Throw in Dr. Pepper from out in Dallas now that you got 2 Texas teams in there. Yeah.
Steal Dr. Pepper from the Big 12.
Yeah. You say, hey, Big 12, you were fine. Y'all can have RC, which, by the way, is in North Carolina. ACC, you should be calling RC. I'm making it work here, Elijah Campbell.
That's the first time I've heard an RC Cola mention in at least 10 years.
It's not bad.
It's there.
It's
it
not bad.
exists. It's on the lower end of colas.
It's like, for just straight up cola, it's
all right.
It's good. I kind of like RC better than Pepsi. I like Coke.
Coke's superior.
Yeah. And I don't count Dr. Pepper as a cola beverage. Dr. Pepper stands on its own as Dr. Pepper. Right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Come back on the other side of the break. We'll get you more on the newest Gamecock transfer, talk a little more Carolina baseball. Coach Bill McDonald, join us bottom of the hour, talk about the U.S. Open. Got a lot of other things to get to, and again, keep you updated. By the way, NC State has just hit a home run. It's now 4-3 Florida in a do-or-die game for both of these schools from Omaha. You're listening to the Postgame Show. You know, since 1936, Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union has been helping their members save with all of their banking needs. And here's how, more than anything else. They're not for profit. So, you know, their earnings are returned immediately to members as lower rates and fewer fees, and an easier way to do your banking, checking, savings, credit cards, car loans, student loans, mortgages, equity lines. If it's banking and you need it, chances are very good that it's happening right now at Palmetto Citizens for less money than the majority of the big banks out there. You can learn a lot more about what they do at palmettocitizens.org. And by the way, whether you are not yet a member or you are, check out the new and improved website. And a lot more changes coming over the summer. A lot easier to use for those of you that want to make payments and do other banking online. They've got that done for you, and so much more coming down the line. And again, with their equity lines, you can do that over a 10-year draw, really save a lot of money and a lot of hassle. Check them out all the time, palmettocitizens.org. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Monday. Jay and Elijah with you. Again, keeping you updated. College World Series elimination game. Florida and NC State. Gators 4-3, top four. They are hitting, are the Gators. 1 on, 1 out. Again, loser goes home. No score, Austria, France in the 20th minute. In each of these teams' opening game of the European Championships, the best player on the planet, Kylian Mbappe, playing for France today. I'm going to stay with college baseball. As I said, we're going to tell you Dalton Mashore, senior outfielder from St. Mary's, is transferring into the Gamecock program, first reported by our good friend John Whittle. This past season, 338, 13 homers, 41 runs batted in, 11 steals, and just one error in center field, a .994 fielding percentage. So a solid baseball player coming to Carolina for just 1 year. So, again, a nice pickup here early on. You got a few Gamecocks that are going to be going to the draft combine, both current players and potential players coming in next season. So we'll keep you updated on how that goes over the course of the next couple of days. Speaking of Florida, and I'm going to blend a little bit of humor between Elijah and me into what we actually do think is a pretty serious story. I didn't see this happen live because the game started 3 hours late. 4 hours late.
Yeah, for a 4 hour rain delay. SEC after dark.
Yeah.
Didn't end until past 2 a.m.
Yeah, yours truly was not going to wait up for that.
I did.
Heck, I'm not sure if it was my favorite team. If I might have tried. I would have at least given it the effort, but I don't know that I'd have made it. Regardless, I have seen some highlights, but I've also seen, dare I say, a low light. If you haven't yet heard this, in the second inning of this game on Saturday night, Florida and Texas A&M. Two Texas A&M, fans got right up on the railing at the ballpark and of the Florida dugout and began to berate Kevin O'Sullivan. And Elijah, you got a little more. I know what happened. I think I'm going to let you explain to people what they were heckling him about in terms of Kevin's personal life, because
yes,
it just anyway. Just tell them
it's a very unfortunate incident happened in 2021 where the mother of two of Florida's, I guess, ball boys, bat boys, they were around the team, right? They were killed by the father of, or their father, and the woman that Kevin O'Sullivan is now married to, her ex-husband. It was a murder-suicide that happened. Very tragic incident. And like I said, Kevin and that woman are married now. And it was a really big deal. And actually there was a law made in Florida to where it is now illegal to share the autopsy results of minors because their autopsy results were published and they sued. And now there is a law in Florida that it is illegal to share those details. That's exactly how public this was in the state of Florida. Right. A very tragic incident where a lot of people know very, very, I guess, intimate details about the situation. And these two bozos from Texas A&M were probably at Rocco's way too much before the event and were contributing to the Jello Shot Challenge way too much. And were basically heckling Kevin O'Sullivan, saying he was responsible for the murder of those two kids.
And, I mean, they were loud. They were, doing, basically look at me. I mean, they were, again, I've seen multiple angles of it now. Some that are right by the dugout, some that are from the press box, a couple that are from the stands in different angles. Once these two yahoos were finally being escorted away, they seemed to celebrate what they had done.
Trying to get the crowd riled up and behind them.
Yeah, and I was talking to Elijah. The reason there's nothing funny about this other than the use of a word I said to Elijah today. I paused. I was like, these guys were lacking in, and I was like, what's the word I'm looking for? And I said, scruples. And scruples it's. I don't know who came up with it or whatever, but scruples basically means, most of you know this, but it's like, it's what stops you from doing something that you shouldn't do, like from an ethical point of view. Not necessarily like, oh, I need to, like your scruples don't necessarily make you hit the brakes real hard at a stop sign. But they may make you stop if like some like elderly person was walking across the street and you decided to scream at them for making you hit your brakes and like berating them. Like your scruples would get in the way there, you would hope. And these dudes were clearly lacking in it. The point, though, is while heckling is part of sport, this doesn't just cross a line. I don't know how many lines it crosses. Or as Joey Tribbiani once said on Friends, when something really bad happened between him and Chandler, like, you didn't just cross the line. The line is a dot to you. Like, that's how far away it is. It's not even a line anymore. It's a dot. I don't know who these two guys are. Their pictures are all over the place. They're on, I looked at like.
It was on national television.
Yeah. And but I've looked at like a couple of guys that follow A&M. Jim Schlossnagle, after the game, made a point of saying, these people don't represent us. And in the short term, at least, they're going to be associated. That's unfortunate for A&M. They should never be allowed. And even the Omaha police tweeted out, we hope that these two people are banned for life from attending from attending the College World Series. And you made a good point. If you're the administration at A&M these days, you're like, yeah, let's find out who they are.
If I'm Trev Albert, the athletic director there at A&M, we're going to identify these two bozos, and then you're going to find emails associated with them with how they got their tickets. And we have the technology in 2024 where you can just ban them from the park.
Yeah.
We can make it really, really hard for them to get tickets. And if they do somehow get tickets, if they get recognized,
right,
you kick them out.
Yeah.
Because that's not cool.
Because it's not, man. Again,
cross is a pretty bad line.
You want to rag on people for a lot of things, that's fine. And there are certainly things that cross lines, but in that's not. Again, you mentioned how and everybody seems to think that they liquid courage was a phrase I saw multiple times. I get it. Mm-hmm. Beer muscles. I've heard, that kind of thing. Still, like, damn, that's not even just cold. Like that's just,
it's cruel.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like it's straight up. A lot of words that, you can't use.
Yeah.
Al get in trouble with the FCC.
I don't know. I want to, where is the line? I want to come back around to this in a little bit. I want you all to have time to think about it. We're going to something different on the other side, where, again, yesterday, potentially, just chanting USA, USA. I didn't really understand that, but I wouldn't say it crossed any lines.
It's in bounds. It's fairly in bounds.
Yeah. It didn't really make sense to me at a non-international event.
But heckling someone over dead children that
they had nothing to do with,
and saying they had something to do with it is pretty messed up.
It's beyond awful. But what is too far? I think that's because you can't have that. Just can't have that. But yeah, that's where the word scruples came in. They had no scruples.
And you are the first person below the age of 60 I've ever heard use the term scruples.
Scruples. It's a good word when you need it. These
when
dudes
applied correctly.
These dudes could use some, and then some more, and then maybe a little more after that,
or a punch in the face.
There's that too, where your scruples wouldn't necessarily get involved. Like, should I do this? Yeah, maybe you should.
Are there scruples in my knuckles?
803-404-6100. Come back on the other side. Bryson holds off Rory, or Rory hands title to Bryson. Coach Bill McDonald will join us with his take on the U.S. Open Championship when the postgame show continues. Talking some College World Series and some U.S. Open on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. Jay and Elijah with you. Hope all of you had a fantastic Father's Day weekend. Those of you who celebrate either as dads, granddads, or with your dad. I got a cool gift I'll tell you about a little bit later on. Worth it to use it last night. That's my tease.
It sounded delicious, too.
Yeah, thank you. It was good. It was good. Always a pleasure to speak to our good friend Bill McDonald, the former Gamecock men's golf coach, joining us now to discuss what happened at Pinehurst over the weekend. Coach, how are you? And I know you played a little golf this weekend. I texted you, hit them straight. Did you?
Yeah. Hey, yeah, it's good to join you all. I had a nice little afternoon around at Palmetto on Friday, so I'm sorry I wasn't able to join you guys. But that's I was down there for a wedding, and it was one of my favorite courses, really anywhere. So I had a good time Friday, and I hope you had a great Father's Day.
Yeah, thank you. Right back at you, sir. Okay, let's just jump in, and then we'll kind of get into the details. Bryson DeChambeau won the U.S. Open. Rory McIlroy lost the U.S. Open. Where does a golf expert like you fall on that question?
I think it goes back to Saturday to begin with. I think you had in that closing stretch, Rory bogeys 15 and 17. Obviously, he has the three bogeys, 15, 16, 18 yesterday, and those two short putts missed. But I really think you have to go back to Saturday. You have to look at Bryson makes a really sloppy double on 16, and then comes back in the third round, birdies, comes right back and birdie 17 and good par on 18. So I think it really set him up yesterday to have a cushion, which I think he ended up obviously needing. And Rory just played incredible golf and then had that faltering stretch. But it was interesting talking to, we've had Tripp Eisenhower on from the Golf Channel. A few times we've talked major championship golf, and Tripp was up there doing on-course stuff all week. And what really was interesting for me, and I don't know if you felt this way watching it, Jay, I couldn't believe how many times DeChambeau hit it out of play and had a shot. He hits it into the native areas, and it's like, and you and I aren't pulling for him. We're pretty open about that. So you're thinking, you see the shot tracer, and you see the ball flying off toward the native, and you're like, finally, maybe he's going to bounce into a bush and he'll be done. And it just never happened. And Tripp made it. I was like, what was it like up there as far as like, he said that 75 to 80% of the shots that he saw actually go into the native area, he said you could advance pretty much or somewhere up near the green. And when I heard that, I'm thinking, well, maybe it wasn't as severe a penalty. I mean, obviously you could get cobbed up like Rory did on the par 5 on the front yesterday and just get a really bad break, but it sounded like from Tripp it was very fair, and you could advance the ball, and I think that's all you can ask for in a major championship. The golf course stood up. I think it was just by the end of the round yesterday, I was actually a Bryson fan, and that shot he hit on 18 might be one of the best shots to win a major championship I've ever seen.
Yeah. Got to give the kid his due. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, certainly that. And I was going to ask about that shot, too. The degree of difficulty from, 50 yards away to put that sucker as close as he did with a championship on the line with Rory watching in the clubhouse. I mean, before he hits that shot, what are you thinking and what he probably should do, what approach he should take, and what was kind of your reaction when you saw him get it that close to the hole and be able to basically seal the deal on a major championship on a shot with that high of a degree of difficulty?
I'll give you an idea of how difficult that shot is. When I was the golf coach at South Carolina, we built a practice facility down just south of the stadium. And one of the things I was adamant about that we have on that practice facility was what I called the oops bunker shot. And that's that 30 to 45-yard bunker shot that you get a lot of times on par 5s where guys don't lay up properly. It's literally the hardest shot in golf. No one practices it. We had a game when I was coaching where we would do a 10-ball game out of the oops bunker to try to get it onto a green. And we would do 10 balls, and And the best I've ever seen do it was Matt Neesmith. He was right around 30 to 40%. He never got over 40%. So four out of 10 balls. I'm talking about just getting it on the green, guys. Just getting 4 out of 10 balls from that distance onto a green for a guy that's a tour player. That's the best I've seen. And so when I was sitting there watching it last night with my wife, I said, he can only do one thing here. He needs to purposely chunk this out toward the front of the green and try to get up and down, or maybe it stays on the green somehow. Try to play for the playoff. You know, if he gets aggressive with this, he could bone it over the green into the clubhouse. I mean, that's how difficult this shot was. I really thought he only had two. I did not think he would be able to pull off the up and down like he did. And then the kind of the symmetry to the whole thing with his tie at having played at SMU, the 25-year anniversary of Payne Stewart's victory. He was an SMU grad. That had a lot of neat elements to it, and you know the up and down on the last hole, which is very similar to what Payne did in '99. So there were a lot of really cool things that I think came out of the championship. But that one golf shot, guys, is, I'm telling you, it's absolutely incredible that he pulled it off under in that situation. And he actually hit a heck of a shot. I thought when he was up under that tree, I didn't know if he was going to even be able really to advance it much. And he just getting it up into that bunker was a pretty good shot out of the trees.
Talking to Bill McDonald, one of our favorite guests in 18 years as South Carolina's men's golf coach. You talked about the native areas. U.S. Opens are often known for incredibly tall grass that you just can't hit out of. Obviously, Pinehurst number 2 has its sort of unique areas where you can be punished. But a guy like Bryson, you made a point of what you said you talked about with Tripp Eisenhower. You know, I mean, he hits 9-iron from like 150, 160. And look, he's a big, strong dude. I said the other day, me hit ball far, it go, that. I mean, but he has found a way, Bill. It's unorthodox, and yet look at him. This is his second U.S. Open championship. What's he doing now? How from a coaching perspective, especially, how have you watched him morph his game to be able to do what he's doing while on the LIV Tour when really only Koepka seems to be a guy who's in contention off of that tour anymore?
So the other conversation I had with Tripp Eisenhower from the Golf Channel today was we were specifically talking about the evolution of Bryson's game and his personality. So, he very much was a bomb and gouge guy when he won at Winged Foot. That was a weird U.S. Open. There were no fans. It was the COVID deal, 2020. He just bombing it everywhere and hitting it out of the rough to somehow 10 feet every hole and just ran away with the thing. When you look at his golf game now, and I actually saw it I don't know if you remember when we talked when we talked during the week of the Masters, and we had all those wins this year for the Masters and the tough conditions, and Bryson's game was holding up, and I'm like, that's not his game. Like, he does not have that kind of precision with his short irons and his wedges. That's different for him, and so it kind of put me on notice that he had lost some weight. He still bombs it, but he's not to the extreme version of what he was. He's lost some weight, developed some touch and feel. He impressed me with two things this week with his wedges. One was obviously his distance control, but his shots around the green were incredible. He had some amazing up and downs. Especially on Saturday, that 67 on Saturday. And guys, I'm telling you, I mean, all you had to do was step outside. I was at a 5:30 afternoon wedding outdoors on Saturday, so I know how hot it was at Augusta and in Coton High. I mean, it was hot in Pinehurst, and everybody knows that. But that was playing that late in the afternoon, that kind of score. I think Rory obviously gave him a little bit of it, but I think Bryson won that golf tournament on Saturday afternoon. That's what I come back to each time I look at it really hard.
Coach, sit tight. I want to come back with a couple of questions about Rory and look ahead to the Open Championship next month, too, and where Rory's place is right now and how fluid you think it might be, especially after yesterday afternoon. Talking to Coach Bill McDonald, U.S. Open, Bryson DeChambeau wins at Pinehurst number 2 yesterday, -6 to Rory's -5. This is the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the postgame show. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Our good friend, Coach Bill McDonald, with us discussing the U.S. Open. Bryson edges Rory by 1 yesterday, but Rory missed 2 putts on the final, 4 holes that probably didn't have 7 feet combined to go into the hole. So, Coach, you made a good point. Bryson won it, and Saturday was good. Neither one of them played well down the stretch yesterday, but Bryson did well enough when it counted the most, and that's what gets you the championship. But this was also, let's be honest here, Bill. This was in a lot of people's minds sort of it was the story. It was the drama. It was the current good versus evil in golf for a lot of people yesterday. Rory has become the face of the PGA Tour in the absence of Tiger Woods being as dominant as he used to be. That's Rory's gig now, and he's gone to bat for the PGA Tour many times. Bryson, is out there for the Live Tour in a lot of ways, but he doesn't even, I don't know, he didn't seem as associated as, say, Sergio Garcia and the other guy who they wore their uniform all weekend, which was odd. But there was more to it yesterday. But Rory didn't get it done, and he left in a huff, but he's still Rory. But it's been, 10 years, Bill? How much, as somebody who's been around the game his whole life, how much does something like that yesterday, in your opinion, affect him moving forward, especially when where his failures were just short putt misses?
Yeah. It's brutal, Jay. I mean, what are we looking at? 40? I don't think he's missed any in the 10 years due to injury. I meant to look that up earlier, but I mean, you're talking about 40 majors now since his last win, and I just I thought the form that he was in, he's been in now for a while. I felt like the way he was embracing the challenge of that golf course, it seemed like his putting. I mean, he had not missed. I saw a stat. I don't think he'd missed inside of 50 feet all year on tour, like all year. And so his putting has been not to Scheffler struggles standards, but he's had issues with his putting over the years. And then another thing I asked Tripp, I was like, it looked to me like that putt on 18. Sometimes TV just doesn't give you the amount of slope. You just can't see it. And he said the putt he had on 18 was really hard. The putt he missed on 16 was pretty bad. I think that was a much easier situation, but still, it's you don't know how he's a tough guy. He's got some personal stuff going on. Sounds like. So you hope he gets his marriage back on track and that he recovers for the final one, for the Open Championship. I mean, Rory probably needs to get, and it's just not how Rory's played in a long time. But if you look at his majors when he was dominant, when he was he boat raced people. He got out to leads, and he dominated with his the way he drives the ball. And it just seems like he hasn't been able to have a major go that way for him. He's backdoored a lot of, second year in a row, by the way, that he's lost by a shot. Wyndham Clark got him at LA Country Club last year. And that's just got to be just amazingly hard. I know he's such an affable and gracious guy. I hated that he left the property yesterday, but at the same time, man, I get it. It's like he probably just wanted to, punch a wall or something, and I'm sure he'll apologize. And it's just tough, man. I was pulling so hard for him. I think, look, this is you heard all the Rory chants and things like that. It's cool how he's been such a great, I think, ambassador for the game and all. I mean, we won't put the black hat on Bryson, but you also have to really give him a lot of credit too for someone who has matured, understood that maybe they made some mistakes. He really was embracing the crowd. He was doing a lot of things that you want to see from a major. He was having fun. He was just as gritty and competitive as anything. And I honestly didn't watch it the last 9 holes thinking of him as a live player at all. I watched it as a guy who's you're seeing his life, a transformation in his life and his personality, and he's trying to win a major championship. I kind of put all my grudges aside and just tried to enjoy the show.
Well, you're a golf professional, so you can do that easier than a fan like me who was pulling it. Now, listen, I do think there's a redemption story there in terms of what he's done. And even once he changed his game once, he's enhanced it and sort of morphed it again. It is impressive. He is good. I don't think there's any question about that. I still am ready for them to, rejoin these tours and get this BS over with. But that'll be a topic for another day, sir. Always appreciate you. Glad you had a nice weekend. We'll check in again with you real soon, and we'll talk about what's going on across the pond here in a few weeks' time. Thanks as always.
Absolutely, guys. Thanks for having me.
You bet.
Take care.
That is our good friend Bill McDonald, the longtime South Carolina men's golf coach after 18 years. Moving on. Royal Troon.
July 18th to the 21st.
There you go. Ooh, is that while we're at Media Days?
It's after Media
Okay,
Days.
good.
We will be back by then.
Good. All right.
That's my favorite one.
Yeah, just
my
making
favorite
sure.
major.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a lot of fun. Bill's a good dude. Way to go, Bryson. I'm as happy for you as I'm going to be. But I wanted Rory to win.
I think he's taking a lot of that live money and is taking it towards PR professionals.
Yeah, well, maybe it's working. Hour 2 is coming up.
It's doing something.
A lot of us have been telling you for years about the fine work that Dr. Dan Balknight and his team at the men's clinic do. And you may say to yourself, well, all right, I've heard about it. Tell me a little bit more. All right, I will. See, here's the thing. There's no one size fits all. There's nothing generic about you. If you don't feel right, then, you want to find out why. Don't wait for it. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. And don't settle for just, here, throw this at it and we'll see what happens. At the men's clinic, they're experts in men's health. They believe that men deserve to live their best life, especially as they get older, and achieving optimal health and wellness requires treating each patient holistically. Dan will sit with you, talk with you, meet with you, get to know what you do in your life every single day. They take a personalized, science-backed approach to men's health care. It's professional, it's convenient, it's confidential. 803-875-MENS, the Men's Clinic. 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. Second hour of the Postgame Show coming at you from the Herndon Chevy Studios, downtown Columbia, South Carolina. He is Elijah Campbell. I am Jay Phillips. You are you, and we thank you for choosing to be with us this afternoon. We also thank, once again, our good friend Bill McDonald for taking time out of his day to talk a little U.S. Open. College World Series continues as we speak. Florida leads NC State 5-4. We're in the bottom of the sixth. NC State is the designated home team today. Pack have 1 on, 1 out as they look to try to tie this one up.
It's threatening.
Hell of a weekend, man. Yesterday was not as exciting, but Friday, 2 walk-offs. Saturday, game 1, an extra inning walk-off. And then while Saturday night, then when they finally played, was not a walk-off, it did take a literal home run stealing catch in the 9th inning to keep A&M with a 1-run lead. So 9th inning drama, if nothing else, even though, again, it was not an actual walk-off win. So we knew this was going to be a good tournament, and so far it's definitely living up to it. If
Jace Laviolette is 6'3" as opposed to being 6'5" or 6'6", that is a home run, and we might still be playing baseball.
Yeah. Well, and not only that, but let's say this too. That ball goes out of every park in the Southeastern Conference easily. So heck of a weekend so far. Yesterday, again, not quite as dramatic. Tennessee, no real issues with North Carolina, a 6-1 win, and Florida State, no real issues with Virginia, a 7-3 victory. Again, this is a do-or-die game going on right now, and Florida just got out of the inning without a run scoring, so they maintain a 1-run lead as we go to the 7th. Tonight, in a winner's bracket game, A&M and Kentucky. Tomorrow, the loser's bracket game is FSU versus North Carolina. And then we'll figure out the rest of it in just a little bit. So we're getting there, y'all. We're getting there. But it's been a fun tournament so far out in Omaha. And with Tennessee being where they are, they do become the favorite. I mean, they were already, but now it strengthens their position is my point.
Well, it gives them a little bit of a team of destiny feel, considering how they won that game Friday night, erasing 3 runs.
That was brutal, man.
Of the inning.
That was that.
Getting the gift from God of Blake Burke not striking out when he absolutely went, and then them taking total advantage of it and tattooing every single pitch by every single Florida State relief pitcher into the outfield to end up pulling that game out of their rear. Well, they had no business winning.
And I think not only did Burke swing, but I think the pitch was a strike. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? But either way, I don't know.
This weekend, that could be 50-50.
But look, you can't review that, obviously. And a lot of times the umpires down the lines just guess.
They're not expecting
they don't know, man. And that's one thing I don't like. There could be, and I'm not really advocating for this right now, but just like a lot of things that we have with sort of that goal line technology or the tennis technology, things like that, you could put, I don't know, a chip in a bat. You could do something. You could have ways.
Oh, you could do that for balls and strikes.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm already here for the computerized, I call it the robot ump. I mean, again, you're not going to have C-3PO back there calling balls and strikes, but
they should, just for the aesthetic.
Oh, it would be amazing.
Just so I can see a coach argue with the robot.
Oh, I would love that.
You are out of here, sir.
Well, you could have C-3PO with all of his whatever he does, but how R2-D2 also has his little like shock prong thing that comes out every once in a while. That's how you
it's
run.
like defense mechanism. Yeah, if you try to bump it, it just
he'll just get you. Speaking of which, did you see that guy? Was it the Reds game? Wasn't it the fan that got tased?
Oh, they got tased? Yeah, definitely. That was in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Wearing a Johnny Bench jersey.
Well, but the backflip thing,
he backflipped out of it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Tackle.
And then they got him, dude. And when he went. I was like, oh. Man.
The taser is the ultimate trump card in that situation.
Yeah.
Officer tried to do it the old-fashioned way, tried to wrap him up. but backflipped out of it. Did you see him? So when he was
was that kid drunk? You think? I mean,
had to be.
You got to be drunk to go do that. But if
no one's storming the field sober, like, listen,
I don't think you are, unless it's like a dare or some kind of. But I mean, to do a backflip like that while that, because I'm with you, I feel like you're not just like drunk. You're like
he wasn't wearing shoes either.
Loaded.
Wasn't even wearing shoes. Was out there not wearing shoes, landed the backflip. And the funniest part was when he was in court the next day, the officer asked if he backflipped out of that tackle, and he goes, "Yeah, and I think I landed it."
He did.
And it's like, "You did, sir.
He
yes,
did.
you absolutely did. You hit that. You hit that mess. Like, props to you. That's a feat of athleticism that's pretty impressive."
And then they got him. Pretty good.
Pretty good. It probably didn't feel good. Dropped like a sack of taters.
Like I said, when he went, he went. Yeah, but anyway, I don't forget what we were talking about.
Pure unadulterated fun right there. I think you're talking about R2D2.
Oh yeah,
shocking.
robot umps. Yeah, just shocking the heck out of a coach. But anyway, the kid went. But yeah, you're right. But that was brutal. Yeah, the Florida State win or loss, Tennessee win. That was brutal for FSU. But again, Tennessee very comfortable yesterday.
Drew Beam was electric.
Yeah. So we'll wait and see who they're going to get here in just a little bit. 803-404-6100 to join us on the phone lines, or you can hit us on the Firehouse Subs text line. Richard wants to weigh in on some of today's topics. Hey, Richard, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Jay. How y'all guys doing?
Doing well. Hope you are.
Fantastic.
Doing fine, thank you. I find it a little hard to believe, Jay, that you would pull for an Irishman over an American to win the United States Open Golf Championship.
Why?
Because you would think you would want an American to win it.
I don't really look at it that way when it's not an international event. I mean, it's a professional golf event, and I prefer Rory. I mean, I'm a bigger fan of Rory. I don't on the tour. I don't care as much about where someone is from. Again, when it's the Ryder Cup, yeah. Or the President's Cup or the Olympics or something like that. But in the pros, I just don't look at it that way.
Fair enough. I mean, I'm not a big Rory guy, so I understand where you're coming from. And one more thing, though, Rory has a habit of missing short putts. If you look at his history, he might be the worst short putter in history.
Ooh, well, see, I disagree. He had not missed a putt within 5 feet all season.
Yeah, he's gotten better this year, but in past years, he's missed more 4-footers than you can shake a stick at.
Well, anyway. Historically, perhaps. Thank you, Richard. Yeah, to each their own. Again, if you want to pull, I just don't look at nationalities on the tour. It's just like, I mean, that's like what I want. I don't know. Would I want Bryce Harper to throw out Ronald Acuna at the plate because Bryce is American and Ronald's Venezuelan? I mean,
I think Rory's lived here long enough now where he's probably a U.S. citizen. He's probably gotten his citizenship. He's been here for
at least a dual
time.
citizen, and he's Northern Irish for what it's worth. But again, like Giannis. I mean, do Bucks fans want LeBron to be better than Giannis when they play each other because Giannis is from Greece with African heritage? It's pro sports, man. I mean, yeah. I just,
I get caught up in that.
I'm not gonna. That's why it didn't bother me that they were doing the USA thing. Like I said, we were talking about like where, and this can kind of blend in some different storylines that we're talking about today. It wasn't, as you said, it was in bounds. I said it wasn't out of line. We said the same thing. But it was weird. It was like, why is this a nationality thing? I mean, listen, y'all. I watch every major. I watch tons of regular tour events. I'm a big golf fan. Have been my whole life. I'm not saying it hasn't happened, but I can't recall it unless it's, again, Ryder Cup.
Different.
Yeah. And I don't really watch the President's Cup that much, to be honest with you, because the President's Cup, everything's contrived in some way, right? But President's Cup, like, American golfers need a break, man. And I think the American dudes take the Ryder Cup like 10 times more seriously than the President's Cup. But anyway, again, it's pro sports. You know, I mean, and I'm a big soccer fan. I mean, you got guys in Europe, like my favorite team, but almost anybody's favorite team. You're going to have dudes from 5, 6, 7, 8 countries. But I said, like, again, look at the NBA. Do you think Mavericks fans want Jason Tatum to beat Luka? No.
I'm really curious as to the amount of golf fans who cheer for certain golfers who endorse the clubs they have.
Right.
Like, I'm just going to cheer for ping golfers. I have a ping putter and a few ping clubs.
Yeah.
Only cheering for ping golfers.
Right. Yeah.
You're the with me or against me, man.
Yeah, I play TaylorMades, but I don't care what you play on the tour.
You have to now.
You know, yeah. I mean, and
tribal lines are being drawn here, Jay.
And again, you know, I don't like Patrick Reed. I mean, he's public enemy number one in golf for me. But you know what? I'll have to cheer against Patrick Reed until Patrick Reed can't play golf anymore in Augusta every year. You know why? Because he won the Masters and he earned it. I mean, that's you know, I'll give you your props, but it doesn't mean I gotta like you. I'm a bigger fan of Rory. I'm a bigger fan of what Rory has done for the tour, especially since the LIV split. I still think the LIV split is ridiculous. I still think that they, you know, I listen to them complain and bitch and moan about what they're not getting. You know, this isn't fair. You knew what you were doing. Mm-hmm. This is kind of like the ACC grant of rights. Hey, you knew what you were doing, man.
You signed it, buddy.
Yeah. I mean, if you wanted to run for the cash, run for the cash. But how's it working out for you? Again, really, if you look at majors, I mean, I love John Rahm, who's from Spain, by the way. He's on the LIV tour. I mean, it's weird how it's being politicized now. I mean, again, this is just pro sports. Why are we doing that? Next month when the Olympics start, go America, baby. Heck yeah. This coming weekend, America, the men in the Copa America soccer tournament. Go America. Yes. When you're wearing the flag, and that's what the event is, then I'm pulling for America. I mean,
I'll be pulling for non-American native Joel Embiid, who will be suiting up for the Team USA.
Yeah.
To ball out and drop 50.
I remember how thrilled I was when Akeem Olajuwon became a citizen. I was like, oh, my God, now America has done it twice. Now, not only is Akeem a major star in the NBA, but now he became an American citizen.
He said, I don't know anything about Angola, but I do know they're in trouble. Charles Barkley quote.
So, yeah, I mean, I get it. Again, if you want to just pull for Americans, okay. I'm not telling you not to. But again, this is not an you know, this weekend was not not an international competition in that respect. Mm-hmm. This is a professional golf. I mean, it's not typically it's not just a professional golf event because it is literally open to anyone who can qualify. But you see the point.
The only instances in which I would cheer for one person because of nationality in an event like that is if there's like a significant drought. Like, part of me wanted to see Andy Murray win a Wimbledon when no British player won a Wimbledon in almost 100 years.
Yeah.
Like some really stupid drought like that. That one I found myself cheering for Andy Murray a little bit. And if we have a similar drought with the U.S. Open, I can probably get myself there if there is a significant drought. But statistically speaking, that is not good.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
That would take a miracle.
It would. It would.
A statistical anomaly.
It was also interesting when Andy did that because he's Scottish. And so even over there,
Scottish.
Yeah, even over there, it was like
half accepted.
First British citizen to do it in forever, and he's a Scot.
Ooh,
not an
insult to injury.
Not an Englishman. You know,
so the streak continues.
Because Scotland, I mean, seriously, I think Scotland has like 6 or 7 million people. You know, Wales probably has less than that, but England has like 60 or 70 million. It is just so different. I don't know what England's populated, but England
dwarfs.
I'm not talking Great Britain or the UK. Like England's population is gigantic in relation to the other 2 countries on the island. You know what I mean? So, but anyway, so Richard, yeah, thanks. I was pulling for Rory. Has probably more to do with PGA versus LIV than where someone was born or raised. It's pro sports.
And you got your heart ripped out of your chest after those missed putts.
Thomas, sit tight. You'll be up next on the other side of the break as the postgame show rolls on. Well, let me tell you about our good friends at AAA Heating and Air. You can beat the seasons with AAA all across the South Carolina Midlands, and you're needing them right now. And you say, oh, Jay, I don't use AAA Heating and Air, and I was not very happy this weekend. Well, if it's time for a system upgrade, you can get a free replacement estimate today. Here's how. You log on to call AAAtoday.com. Call AAAtoday.com. Punch in a few quick numbers, and the website will tell you what it is that it'll cost you to get a brand new system. And you say, well, I can't really afford that right now. Aha, Roy and Dana Finley have you covered there as well. Guaranteed financing options, including 12 months, no payments or interest in 2024, and the 15-year parts and labor warranty. AAA will stand behind their work for more than a decade to come. 803-677-1500. Call AAAtoday.com. Tell them Jay Phillips sent you when you go to AAA Heating and Air. Twenty minutes after 4 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Welcome back in. Postgame show continues. NC State trying to threaten again. Now bottom 7, 2 on, 2 out. But the Pack still trail Florida 5-4. Winner advances. Loser goes home. France is up 1-0 over Austria in the Euros, but it was an Austrian own goal that made the difference. Keep you updated on those things and more. As promised, Thomas, thank you for your patience. You are up next on the phone line. How are you, sir?
Doing fine. Jay, maybe you can answer me a question here.
All right.
I was watching the LPGA tour yesterday, mostly because Lexi Thompson, she's one of my favorite golfers, and she retiring after this year. But one of the young ladies she was playing with, she off the tee, she hit, and the ball went into the rough. You know what I mean? Off the green, off the fairway into the first rough there. But landed, I think, on a sprinkler head, and she was getting relief. Now, I thought if you were in the rough, you do, once they give you relief to one club link and all that good stuff. But I wouldn't think that they would allow you to drop the ball back into the fairway with the club link.
I believe the rule, and I will double-check this for you, Thomas, and thank you for the phone call. I believe the rule is, depending on the situation, either 1 or 2 club lengths, no nearer the hole. But as I understand it, again, it's just no nearer the hole. They don't make you stay in the rough. So if you get relief, sometimes relief comes in many forms. It's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the things that I know there have been other majors and other U.S. Opens at Pinehurst, but these are the things that you might hear when you're watching, 10 years ago, and you just don't think about it again. The irrigation system at Pinehurst, the sprinklers are all smack down the middle of each fairway. And so you're only going to have sprinkler heads with distance markers down the middle. And so, the point being, if you were to land on one of those, well, you're going to be dropping in the fairway again. But depending on where relief is allowed, again, the one thing about relief is that you can't do it closer to the hole. But there will be times when you get relief that you do improve your lie. That's just the circumstance. I'll double check that to make sure, but I don't think there's any. I don't know every rule of golf, I don't know every rule of anything, and I probably know baseball rules the best, but I just, again, I'm pretty sure that depending on the situation, sometimes there's 2, but usually just 1, no nearer the hole. And then you just line it up. And if it happens that you're right on the edge of the rough and your club, you decide, you got to draw a line, and you got to tell the official where you're going to line it up and drop. And then they'll say, yes, you can drop here. And they'll tell you where you can't. Like, no, you can't drop this. You got to drop, and then you drop. So, hey, luck of the draw sometimes, right?
As long as it's not closer to the hole.
As long as it's not closer to the hole.
Which seems pretty straightforward to me.
Yeah. But I'll double check. But I can't recall. And you golf experts, again, Coach, if you're still listening, let me know. But I think I don't think there's any requirement that forces you to stay in whatever, again, when relief is allowed. Now, if you're in a waste area or a bunker or whatever, like, I would imagine, well, I don't know, because I don't know where you would ever get relief in a bunker or a waste area. That's sort of the point.
Yeah.
Again,
there's natural traps of the course.
Yeah, there's no sprinkler heads. There's no water drains, in the bunker or in the waste area or anything like that.
They're natural, natural hurdles of the golf course.
They're usually put in places, again, like I said, the irrigation system at Pinehurst is smack down the middle. And the reason that was brought up wasn't because of anybody needing relief, but rather yardage markers. Because, any of us that have played any amount of golf ourselves, when you see a sprinkler head in the middle of the fairway, it typically has a number on it, which is how far that sprinkler head is from the hole, so you can have some kind of gauge of how far away you are. So I'm going to say I'm 90+% certain on how I'm doing that there's no requirement to stay in the rough if relief is allowed. Which, again, good for you. You're farther back. But, yes, would I rather be 1 club length farther back and in the fairway than in the rough?
Significantly.
Absolutely.
Easy decision to make.
But you also, it isn't like you planned for that. I mean, how big is a sprinkler head? Think about it. Think about I don't know. What are the odds of hitting, and landing on a sprinkler head on a golf course?
They're slim.
Yeah, I mean, come on. There's something the size, smaller than a dinner plate.
It's not something you're doing twice in a round.
And if you do, well, then dang.
It's like getting struck by lightning.
Right.
Twice.
I mean, I don't know what
these are similar odds.
Yeah, I don't know what the odds are of hitting a sprinkler head, but I imagine they're very slim. So, but good for you. Watching a little LPGA yesterday, the Meyer LPGA Classic. By the way, Lilia Vu beat Lexi Thompson yesterday in a playoff, and Grace Kim. Wow. So yeah, Lexi retiring. She won't even be 30. Maybe she'll turn.
Good
30.
for her.
She's, I guess she's kind of, I wonder if she comes back.
Gets the itch.
Yeah.
It's the reverse baseball coach. We made the joke, and Paul Maneri, when he's on with us, made the joke, I can only play so much golf. Maybe it's the reverse. She can only not play so much golf without doing it for money.
Well,
that she gets back into it.
There you go. All right, so we'll look that up. I tell you what, we're going to hit the break here in a second. I'll look that up and see if just to make sure. I mean, I want to do our listeners a solid since we had the question come to us. But I cannot think. And again, if anybody wants to weigh in on the text line 803-404-6100, I do not believe there is a rule that requires you to remain in the rough even if relief is allowed. So long as you are taking relief within the rule, which is the distance allowed. That's why everybody pulls out the driver when it's time for relief. Nobody ever pulls out the pitching wedge.
Bring out the big guns.
Bring out the big boy, get the longest one you got there and see what happens. 803-404-6100. Come back on the other side. Again, new streams of revenue are a must. Is it just the Big 12 that's looking for new? We'll get into that and more as the postgame show continues. I got to use some of my equipment from Cato's this weekend. True story. True story. Yeah, you say, well, Jay, you had to do yard work on Father's Day weekend. Well, I mean, you always got to take care of the yard. The yard knows no holidays, right? Your yard is your yard. But Ben Cato and the team ready to help you out. I've got a 30-inch Toro Time Master. I absolutely love it. In fact, believe it or not, Elijah Campbell, true story. One of my daughters said, hey, Dad, I think I want to use your lawnmower one time, just see how easy it is. And I was like, okay. I will get it going for you. Now, we didn't do that this weekend.
And the results were?
Well, yeah, no, we didn't do it yet. We didn't do it yet. But I was like, if you want to do it, I'm happy to let you. So, so now one of my daughters wants to cut the grass. And I was like, I am here for it. So we will be doing that soon. I will definitely report back. But whatever it is that you need in lawn care equipment, mowers, trimmers, edgers, blowers, riding, walk behind, electric, gas powered, they've got it all at Cato's Power Equipment.
From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. The few accidents to get to that are causing some delays on the roadways this afternoon. Start with some mild ones here in Richland County. We have an accident on Bluff Road at Highway 48 and Congaree Road at Highway 769. That one's recently been reported. We got another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at O'Neill Court, one on Killian Road at I-77, one on North Main Street at I-20, one at Percival Road near Highway 12 and I-77. Got one on Trotter Road at Kaufman Road, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near Bush River Road, and one on US 378 near Highway 769 and Congaree Road. In Lexington County, we have two, one on Hope Ferry Road at Midway Road and one on Bower Parkway at Harbison Boulevard.
We'll get into new streams of collegiate athletic revenue in just a second, but we had a question about the rules of golf. So I did some quick digging. Happy to say that I was correct in how I assessed the question. We had a caller, for those of you just tuning in, say he was watching the LPGA, and one of the women on tour hit into the rough. It landed on a sprinkler head in the rough and was allowed relief into the fairway. Rule 16.1B of the USGA's Rules of Golf does not differentiate between the rough and the fairway. It puts limits on the location of relief, but says it must be in the general area, can't be near the hole. We knew that. Then the reference point, and there must be, quote, complete relief from all interference by the abnormal course condition. The general area defined in the rules of golf as the area of the course that covers all areas except the tee, the bunkers, the penalty areas, which I said, the penalty areas, the waste areas, which are not technically bunkers, and the putting green of the hole being played. Yeah, you can't get relief on the putting green. They don't have sprinkler heads on putting greens or anything. If there's anything interfering on the putting green, then the course, somebody needs to get hollered at. Or again, in a bunker or a waste area, those kind of things. So yeah, you can, if that's where your club length allows. That's what I thought. I just wanted to make it absolutely sure. 16.1B, Rule 16.1B defines that.
Glad that question was directed towards you, because the only thing I know about relief on a golf course is where the porta potties are.
Nice.
That's it.
Hey, that counts too, man.
That's the most important kind of.
And you know what? If you land on one of those, or like right up next to it, you can get relief twice.
That's right. That's a double entendre.
That was terrible. Why'd you let me do that? That was terrible. But you can.
I put that on a tee for you.
Yeah, see what you did there. So the Big 12 is looking to Allstate Insurance as a potential naming rights sponsor of the conference. Maybe the Allstate 12 or the Allstate 16.
I was like, for the love of God, change the number. If you're going to have a sponsorship and change the name of your conference, change the number.
Just the Allstate.
Accurate.
What if it's just the Allstate Conference?
That's cool too.
Yeah.
Then you can expand or have teams leave your conference all you want, and you never have to adjust the number or worried about an inaccurate number.
Fair.
Like the Big Ten has to do right now.
Yep. Or again, yeah, in the case of the Big Ten, yes, the numbers don't add up. In the case of the Atlantic Coast. But again, the Atlantic Coast Conference, as we said, has long since abandoned geography when they allowed Pitt and Louisville into the league.
Landlocked Louisville.
Yeah. Yeah. No ocean. I know
no coast.
Philadelphia does have, I guess, like the river that flows down and then gets ultimately out there, but technically no beaches, no coast in Pennsylvania.
Pittsburgh plays on the banks of the Allegheny.
Yeah, on the other side of the state. But again, Louisville, yeah, no oceans in or around Kentucky.
Have been to Louisville, did not find an ocean.
Yeah. River.
Yeah.
Big river.
Big one, yeah.
Yeah.
But no ocean.
A lot of boats on that river, a lot of shipping, a lot of money.
And then, of course, nothing says Atlantic Coast quite like Stanford.
Like the Pacific Coast. Yeah. It's all the coast, man.
All these people in these boardrooms like, it's all water.
It's like when the ACC had the Atlantic Division and the Coastal Division. I was like, which one's by the water? You're just north, south, east, west. Just make it easy for me, man. Like when the Big Ten had leaders and legends. I was like, what the hell is that?
That one was particularly dumb. Like hilariously dumb.
Or when I was a kid, you had like the Norris division of the NHL and the Patrick division and the Smythe I don't know. It was like
there was a Campbell Conference, which I think is now known as the Western
and the
Conference.
Wales division. Was it the Campbell and the Wales?
The Prince of Wales Trophy, I think, is what
okay,
was
I don't
the Eastern
know.
Conference.
Yeah, I was just like, Eastern Division, Central Division. Right?
They have since changed that.
Yeah. I know. Thank goodness.
Or it's a lot easier to remember.
I don't know I don't know who these people are. I don't know where it is. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
I don't even know who Stanley is, but I'm glad he's given us his cup to celebrate the hockey champion year in, year out.
It is.
That one should never change.
It's a fine cup.
It's a glorious one.
Yeah, big.
Would love to enjoy a beer out of that.
But we're looking now at the potential of at least 3 of the group of 5 conferences selling their naming rights. We don't have anything confirmed as of yet, but according to Chris Vanini, national college reporter for The Athletic, Conference USA, the American Conference, and the Mountain West have had discussions about naming rights. According to Chris, CUSA has actually been doing this, believe it or not, for 3 years. They signed a new TV deal recently. They're getting ready to grow to 12 teams. The American says they brought up the idea earlier this year, and it remains a big point of discussion. Their new commissioner is Tim Pernetti. He's got a background in both sports business and, wait for it, Elijah, private equity. He's been very open to finding new revenue streams for his teams, saying, quote, nothing should be off the table. Again, bowl games have been doing this for a while. Again, would it be problematic if the College World Series was the whatever College World Series? I mean, does anybody really care? Here's the thing. And I think you and I can't remember if we mentioned this on the air or off the air the other day in some of our discussions about these kinds of things. When you and I sit here and talk about bowl matchups later this year, we'll talk about the Orange Bowl matchup, the Peach Bowl matchup, the Sugar Bowl matchup. We won't, you and I, every time we say it, go, well, the FedEx Orange Bowl matchup.
We're not contractually
the Chick-fil-A
obligated.
Peach Bowl, or the Allstate Sugar Bowl matchup there, Elijah. I tell you, that's going to – no. Now, again, Chris Fowler has to do that when he's broadcasting the game. But you and I don't, and we won't. So it's just
feel weird.
Yeah. But let them sponsor it, and their logo's out there. And it's all over everything else. They're getting their money's worth without people in talk radio or, any kind of podcasting or just, how many of you fans out there do that? Do any of you with your buddies?
In the group chat refer to it as the Allstate Sugar Bowl.
Ever throw the sponsor out there?
Or it'd be funny if you were corrected in a group chat saying, hey, man, who do you guys got in the Sugar Bowl? That's the Allstate
Sugar Bowl.
Sugar Bowl to you, buddy.
So, again, bring it on.
You need it for survival.
I'm tired of getting angry about things like this. My anger in all of this, y'all, is the incredible amount of inaction that collegiate leaders took to head this off at the pass. That's my anger. That's where my frustration lies. I'm old enough to have watched a lot of things evolve in collegiate athletics. I remember when I was in middle school and Georgia and Oklahoma sued the NCAA over television rights. I was in college. It was one of the happiest days of my collegiate life when I found out that my school was getting ready to be invited into the Southeastern Conference. I could not believe it because I would not have fathomed it even a couple of weeks before you had told me, hey, this might be happening. I was like, get the bleep out of here. You're crazy. We're not. We're a football independent. We're in the Metro. We love playing Southern Miss and Tulane and Florida State and everything. It's great. We're not going to join the Southeastern Conference.
But what about the rivalry with Tulane? SEC legend Tulane.
It was a tough one to see go away.
Former SEC great.
You know, and then a couple of years later, the Big 12 did form, but they killed the Southwest Conference. Literally killed it. Boom, dead, gone. The Atlantic Coast Conference grew. I remember when Georgia Tech was invited into the Atlantic Coast Conference after South Carolina had left. And they had 7 schools for a few years. Can't have an odd number of schools. I've seen all kinds of things. I also saw Ed O'Bannon have a legit gripe like nearly 20 years ago. You can't use people's names and images and likenesses without their permission in a free market society.
When his neighbor's kid said, "Hey, isn't this cool that you're in this video game and you didn't get a cent from it?"
Listen, Ryan Brewer and I have talked about this. I had, like a lot of us, I had multiple versions of the old college football game. And when you got it, I think it was like the 2000 or 01 game, okay? And in it, when you first got it, nobody's names were said by Brad Nessler. But you could go in, it'd be like number 21, number 5,
halfback number
whatever.
21,
yeah.
quarterback
but
number
you
5.
could go in and type in Brewer for number 21, and guess who had recorded the last name Brewer?
A whole database of last names where they recorded every single one of them.
Brad Nessler had recorded all these last names. You just had to go in and basically cheat around it.
Carolina on the I formation, handoff to Brewer.
There it was.
Up the middle for 5 yards.
And Ryan was like, yeah, they didn't give me anything for that.
Car curve street.
Nothing.
That was a really great run by Brewer.
Right. So there's my anger.
Yeah.
Is why did you let this fester for so long to the point that you basically got to cut the whole limb off now? It didn't have to be this way. That's my anger. I'm not going to get angry that now these conferences are looking for more money because they spent so long trying to dodge this.
I have a theory about as to why many college leaders decided to just kind of kick the can down the road. A lot of them were at the ages when this started becoming an issue in the late 2000s, when there was finally public momentum behind student athletes receiving compensation for helping, create these billion-dollar empires that is college athletics. A lot of it is some of those administrators were so late in their careers, this is a problem they didn't want to handle.
Right.
How many athletic directors are athletic directors now that were not athletic directors or even in, athletics administration back in 2009, 10, 11, 12, when these issues really started to arise for the first time? Probably not a ton.
Right.
None of them were in the position. A lot of it was like, hey, this is going to be my issue. I got 5 or 6 more years of collecting this money and I can retire. Why would I care about this now? I think there was a whole lot of that in Division I.
Well, and you're seeing now, too, presidents and chancellors who make these hires at the commissioner level, bringing people in who have a background more in the business realm relative to the administrative realm. And even in the case of a guy like Greg Sankey, who wasn't, he is bringing people into the Southeastern Conference to work with him who have those backgrounds. They're doing all right, but you have to embrace the change. Slower than you'd like. Okay, we can tamp the brakes a little bit. 803-404-6100. This is the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the postgame show on this Monday afternoon. Coming up in the final hour of the program, headlines of the day. Get you a few Gamecock headlines as well in the 5:15 segment, drive around the SEC, and a quiz. We're doing a lot of these towards the end of the show. Elijah, I just think he enjoys seeing me twist in the wind.
See, I love dishing out fun facts, and if I can dish out fun facts at the expense of making your head hurt, we're going to do it.
It's like very sadistic of you in the sports talk kind of way.
In a way, yeah. There is some sadism here. Today's game, I'm going to name you a billionaire donor, Jay Phillips, and you'll have to guess what school he is a billionaire donor for.
Okay.
Which athletic department this billionaire donor, or these 4 billionaire donors, I got 4 of them.
Okay.
You have to guess the school that they help fund.
I'm not going to say a name right now because one stands out big time, but that's going to be too easy. You're not going to do that guy.
Oh, you knew I wasn't going to give you any obvious ones. Phil Knight is not on this list.
I wasn't thinking of him, so maybe I'm still in good shape to get at least one right.
Papa John, not on this list.
No, I'm not thinking of him either. But that's we'll see. Coming up just a little bit. Reports out of this game in Germany suggest that Kylian Mbappe, the best player on the planet, just told Elijah he was bleeding profusely, may have a broken nose.
Ooh.
That's not good.
No. That's something that could keep him out of the tournament.
Yeah, at least, for a game or two. France is winning right now, but and they are the second favorite to win this tournament from the betting odds. England, number 1. I like France's chances better than I do England's, to be honest with you.
England winning a major championship, like the Euros or World Cup, not happening.
Yeah.
Sorry,
France
can't fool me.
France is better at it, in my opinion, but we'll see. But
good deal on the lines, though.
Kylian may have a broken nose. And at the College World Series right now, we are in the bottom of the 9th. Florida still leads NC State 5-4. NC State is hitting; they're the home team. They have nobody on and 1 out. Loser goes home today.
Pennington.
Now 2 out.
Strike out, yeah. One of their best hitters.
Didn't need to swing at that one, but now just 1 out away, is Florida from winning this game and moving on. And then Florida would get the loser of tonight's game, right?
That would be correct.
Yeah.
Texas A&M and Kentucky.
So a lot of SEC baseball out there. And again, a pretty good weekend, except for the 2 Yahoos from A&M.
Yeah, big losers of the weekend.
Yeah. If you didn't see that, I'm not saying it's not worth your time per se, but Elijah and I talked about it earlier. Two Yahoos in A&M gear berating Kevin O'Sullivan over an incredibly difficult situation involving young children and a murder-suicide that Kevin had no direct involvement in whatsoever, and being loud and boisterous about it and thinking that was the right way to heckle. And it's not at all.
Yeah, definitely out of bounds. And deservedly, they got kicked out of the game.
Yeah. And Florida's done it. Fly out to left. State is done. Florida moves on. So NC State will not get their redemption story after they got hosed last time they were here.
So now we went into this tournament 4 SEC, 4 ACC, and the first 2 teams eliminated are ACC schools.
Virginia is done, and NC State is done.
Greg Sankey is somewhere shirtless.
He's probably at this game.
Probably shirtless, yeah. This is the victory lap he is going to take, because you know what's going to happen tomorrow? They're going to have 2 ACC teams in an elimination game against each other. So the first 3 teams eliminated in this tournament will be ACC teams.
Yeah, I'm gonna say he's not shirtless though.
Well,
that's what I'm gonna say.
He's not enjoying his time in Omaha then.
Yeah, I don't know. Omaha's a fine town.
It seems fine.
It is.
You got to experience this event before.
I have, and I was there for 9 days, and I'm not gonna lie to you. After a while, it's like, all right, it's kind of like being in Columbia. Omaha's a little bigger. It's more like being in Birmingham, perhaps, with a really cool zoo. I will say I did go to the zoo.
I've heard the zoo is immaculate.
The zoo was actually, and I love zoos. We have a great zoo here in Columbia, which is why I said it's kind of like Columbia. Only their zoo is like twice as big and twice as cool. maybe more than twice as cool because it's just so big, and all the Mutual of Omaha money. But other than that, I mean, you can only eat so many steaks, right?
True. For some schools, you can only consume so many Jell-O shots.
Well,
or
and
at least you
thing,
should consume only so many Jell-O shots.
It's weird, man. Again, being from Columbia, which is a college town. I mean, they have a couple of schools there, but really, like downtown Omaha, when I was there, by like 11 o'clock, man, everybody was like sleepy and ready to go home.
That makes it a lot like Birmingham, because the 2 times I was in Birmingham covering events, I'd be like, yeah, let's go out and have some drinks after this event, and the town would be dead.
It's dead. Like Columbia at least stays awake till 2 o'clock.
5
in the
Points
morning.
is at least vibrant.
Yeah. And the Vista stays open a little bit too. Final hour coming up.
Definitely not in Birmingham. Goodness. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you. They're causing some issues on the roadways here in the Midlands. We'll start in Lexington County. We only have one accident there, and that's on Hope Ferry Road at Midway Road. In Richland County, we have a few to get to, so let's start with one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at I-77, one on Killian Road at I-77, one on North Main Street at I-20, one on Percival Road at Highway 12 near I-77, one on US 176 at Broad River Road near Bush River Road, and lastly, one on US 378 near Highway 769 in Congaree Road.
It is 5 o'clock news time on this Monday. Welcome back in. It's also the final hour of the Postgame Show alongside Elijah Campbell. I'm Jay Phillips. Let's start with a couple of things going on locally. First, a big transfer added into the Carolina baseball program by Coach Paul Maneri and the staff. Dalton Mashore, a senior center fielder from St. Mary's, out in California, will be joining the Gamecocks. John Whittle, the first to report this one. In his 3 seasons at St. Mary's, 23 home runs, 89 runs driven in 153 games. But in 2024, he was on the all-conference team, hit .338 with 13 of those home runs and 41 runs batted in. Also had 11 stolen bases, which led the Gales, and he had a .994 fielding percentage in center field. He's a right-handed hitter, will have 1 season left for the Gamecocks. So Dalton Mashore transferring into the Gamecock program from St. Mary's. Other Gamecock news for you. Carolina has announced officially now via our buddy David Cloninger that Nicholas Harbor will not compete at the U.S. Olympic trials later this month. He had qualified for the 200 based on his times this year, but according to what David has reported and has been confirmed by Carolina and Steve Fink, he said that Coach Hall, Tim Hall, and Nick looked at where he had been running time-wise and measured that against others that will be competing and decided that his best opportunity was probably no farther than the semifinals, so not even getting into the finals. And even from there, would you be selected? Steve, according to this report, said the chances of him making the finals were pretty slim, and they determined that the wear and tear on his body wasn't worth it to do that at this time, to go ahead and give him a chance to get a little rest and recover before football gears up a little bit more, looking out for his best interest in the long term. Listen, he set a lot of personal bests, and he has moved himself into some of the all-time best times at Carolina. And, of course, for so many years, Coach Fry had such a great program. Coach Hall has taken over. The one thing that surprised me here, and this isn't really a commentary, is do you go anyway because you qualified? It's kind of like Terry and I were talking about it, like when Michael Phelps was 15, he did qualify. You got to qualify to swim, right? But maybe they could have taken somebody else. But I think you knew when he was that young, Phelps I'm talking about now, like, you need to go ahead and go see what it's like to be here. It's not just about running or swimming or whatever it is that you do as your sport. It's to get an idea of what the events are like, to get an idea what the competition is like, to know how to gear up for it, prepare for it, you know. And you hear about the game slowing down. That can take a lot of different forms. And when you know the environment, you know, it might better prepare you. So I'm not saying they made the wrong decision. That's not at all what I'm here to say. And I'm not really surprised that they made the decision they made, Elijah, because, again, I think a lot of Gamecock fans got kind of geeked up about it, like, hey, he could run in the Olympics. And it's like, listen, if you're a sprinter and it's the year of the Olympics, you're not splitting time. You know, it'd be one thing if you were – also, like when Carl Lewis was also doing like the long jump, you can split some time there, right? But you're not playing football.
Where you're getting just hit.
Yeah, you're not playing football. And he didn't really do much for the football team this spring in terms of physical activity. Now Shane said he was there a lot because he wants to continue to get better. So he was around his new position coach Mike Furry and around some of the new faces on the team, and obviously trying to still get tighter with Lenoris and things like that as best you could. But they weren't, he was never going to be out there running around in pads getting hit.
No.
So, again, just to go be part of the event, I thought maybe once you qualified, but I also completely understand why you just said, you know what, I know my limitations. And again, he wasn't going to run in this year's Olympics. I mean, you would have to have done something just so incredibly special. And if you had, then great. But I think you got to sometimes stop and realize how hard it is to be the Southeastern Conference champion and then to be the NCAA champion, much less to be amongst the very, 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 very best, including tons of pros who will be doing this next month at the Olympics.
And in terms of just getting rest, too, I mean, think about it. The Olympics are in August. and then let's say he goes in the next month to try to qualify for it, you're not going to have a long time to rest before fall, quote unquote, fall camp rolls around.
No, don't call it
right.
That.
It
August
is
camp. August camp.
Your August camp, if you will. There's just not enough time to adequately recover and be able to take the rest that you need to go into football season. Really, unless he had a legitimate shot at getting in, that's the only way, I guess. It's the wise move to go do it. And the difference in him and a 15-year-old Michael Phelps is Michael Phelps can fail, learn exactly how much faster you have to be, how good everybody else is, how good you have to be to qualify for the Olympics, and still get to rest while the Olympics are happening.
Right.
And then get right back at it a couple months later. But there's just simply not enough time between the trials and the start of August camp.
Yes, August camp. So now he can take a few weeks, decompress, get ready, and, Gamecock fans hope he has a big breakout season.
And he could. They're going to rely on him a lot in terms of he's possibly the biggest downfield threat you're going to have on this team. And if you want to be able to stretch the defense out at any point this season and you want to maximize maybe some of Lenoris's downfield arm strength, you got to have a target that's going to make defenses respect you in that element.
We said that a bunch last year, right? Like, he can't be a decoy.
No.
After a while, they'll just go, they're not throwing to him.
Yeah, you got to be a serious threat to stretch the field.
Right.
And if he can prove he's a serious threat to stretch the field, your Gage Larvidans, your Jared Browns are going to have a lot better opportunities in that short intermediate range where they really thrive.
Continuing our integrated media headlines of the day, College World Series yesterday on day 3, Tennessee advanced in the winners bracket. They beat North Carolina 6-1. Florida State eliminated the Virginia Cavaliers. Today, Florida has just finished their game with NC State. Gators hanging on for a 5-4 win. Gator pitching did a nice job in the late innings of some NC State runners were getting on base. Nobody got on in the 9th inning. But State had runners on a couple of times in the late innings. Florida got out of jams. Gators hold on 5-4. Again, that was a do or die. Tonight in the winners bracket game, A&M and Kentucky. So the loser will play Florida. Tennessee has advanced. Tennessee doesn't play again until Wednesday, I believe.
Correct.
Is that right?
Yeah, they earned a couple days off.
Yeah, so
which means their pitching arsenal will be at its almost
Tennessee,
full capacity.
again, I they went in as the number 1 team in the country for a reason, but now that they are where they are, they're in great shape, certainly to advance, if nothing else. I'm not saying they're in great shape to win this thing yet, but they're certainly in great shape to advance to the title series.
I will say, if you're Tennessee, you don't want to see Florida State again. I would not want to see Florida State again. With how good their pitching staff is, yes, they got tattooed in the 9th inning and blowing that 3-run lead. That team has, 2 guys in the lineup that are projected first-round draft picks. They've got really solid pitching up and down the board, really, whether it be their starters or their bullpen. I think they probably mirrored Texas A&M the most in terms of just the most balance between your lineup and your pitching staff. I wouldn't want to see Florida State again if I'm Tennessee. I am really hoping North Carolina comes out of that game limping into that final one so you can take care of business enough to worry about a pivotal final game going into the championship series. But that should be fun.
Yeah. North Carolina and Florida State tomorrow at 2 o'clock. As Elijah said, the winner gets Tennessee, and then tomorrow night we'll have Florida versus the winner of this one. So there you go.
Yeah, right? all but guaranteed for the first 3 teams in this tournament to get eliminated being ACC teams.
And, the loser of this one tonight, I apologize. Florida versus tonight's loser. Yes. Tonight's winner will advance to Wednesday as well.
So either Florida versus A&M or Florida versus Kentucky.
Yeah. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think in the 9th, you're right, it was, but didn't State have a 4-run lead at one point and then 3 in the 9th?
Yeah, they had a 4. Yeah,
it was 11-7, right? Like in the 8th, and Tennessee got one back.
Tennessee got one in the 8th, and then went into the 9th down 11-8.
Yeah. So that was tough to watch, man.
Yeah, Florida State really.
I'm not pulling for or against. I was like, hey, there you go, Link. There you go, FSU. Like there you go. You made a statement.
Both pitchers that appeared in that inning, you could tell were rattled. They left a couple over the plate, and they all those balls Tennessee hit were just hard hit balls into the gap. It was ugly. It was very ugly.
The last kid that came in had a look on his face of like, I don't know. I was like, I don't think he really wants to be pitching right now.
I think we can diagnose him with what our friend Langston Moore refers to as lemon booty.
Right. He didn't seem. You know what though? There was a guy. What game was I watching yesterday? And another guy looked the same. Anyway, I was like, y'all don't need to be doing that. You need to want to be out there. Don't have that look of, I don't know, I want to finish.
You want to embrace, getting out of that jam.
You're in the College World Series.
That's the difference between North Carolina and Tennessee. Kirby Connell, the guy who looks like he could be the front man in a Leonard Skinner cover band, goes out there with 2 runners on and 1 out and gets them out of the jam. And North Carolina had no more gas after that. Completely juiceless after they got out of that jam.
Staying with baseball, my Atlanta Braves have won 3 out of 4. They didn't win yesterday, but they're only 8 games back of the Phillies now. Hey, last Wednesday it was 10. So that's...
And the sky was falling.
It's something. Braves host Detroit tonight. Max Fried on the hill, 6-3 with a 3.20. Reese Olson will go for Detroit. He's 1-8, and so you're like, oh, good. There you go. But he's got a 3.68. 61 strikeouts, 23 walks, and only
Good
4
ratio.
home runs allowed.
Good ratio.
That's not bad. It's just Detroit must be, he must be in that hell spot, I like to call it, when they don't score runs for you. Because if I see a dude that's 1-8 on a team with a losing record, I'm thinking, your ERA is like over 5.
Example 1 billion as to why pitcher wins and losses is a terrible stat.
It can be a silly stat. There's no doubt about that. Finally, in our integrated media headlines of the day, the NBA Finals could be over tonight. Dallas. Listen, I took very little from Dallas winning that game. What was it by? Like 912 points? I forget. It was a huge
911.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
close.
I knew it was something
By that
like
I
that.
mean 38.
Boston was like, let's just win at home. It's fine.
Luke Cornett played in the third quarter.
Tonight, Boston minus 6.5. 8:30 tip time. Celtics up 3-1. The EBPI says
Celtics 57%.
okay.
They're the much better team, but they have some reason not played as well at home as they do on the road. And part of me has a feeling Dallas will completely empty the clip tonight. Shorter turnaround between Game 5 and Game 6, and then Boston probably wins by 15 or 20 in Dallas.
Yeah, the other night, I mean, seriously, Boston took the night off.
Oh, they got clubbed. Yeah.
But I mean, they took the night off, right? I mean, they didn't
After
go,
the first half, they realized they didn't
yeah, I
have
mean,
it after one half.
I just think, look, yeah, did Dallas pop them in the mouth early? Sure, okay. But I don't know that that Boston went in there going, let's just, I mean, you see my point. I'm like, they just said, screw it, we'll go home.
Either way, history will be made no matter who wins this series because no NBA team has ever won the finals starting off down 3-0, and no team has ever won an NBA finals in which they lost a game in that series by more than 37 points. So history's going to be made one way or the other.
8:30 tonight. Again, Celtics minus 6.5. And that's our integrated media headlines of the day. You can watch that and so much more better than ever with integrated media. All of your home theater needs from one great group. Home security as well. Control it all from the Control4 app on your phone or tablet. Outdoor systems, a great addition to the family entertainment arsenal. 803-948-8327. And really, no job too big, no job too small. Call them up, see what they can do for you. Integrated media. I love them. You will too. Come back on the other side, get into a few more things around Carolina baseball. And again, what's too far when it comes to heckling in sport? We'll get back into this A&M Florida story from the other day and hope to not see a repeat of that. Drive around the SEC coming as well. You're listening to the Postgame Show. Welcome back into the Postgame Show on this Monday afternoon. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell with you. Hope all you dads out there had a good weekend. Before we get back into a few things around Carolina athletics, I do want to thank Mrs. Phillips and my daughters. We have something called a solo stove fire pit. More recently, you may have seen Snoop Dogg advertising them. They're really cool. The way they're built, that like the smoke doesn't, like we had an old fire pit, on the back patio that was kind of crappy and smoky and not a whole lot of fun if the wind was blowing in the wrong direction. And this thing, the way it's built, like the smoke just goes straight up. But for Father's Day yesterday, I was given an accessory to the solo stove called the Pi, P-I. And it's a pizza oven that sits on top of it. So you build like your really hot fire. And this thing fits into the grooves of the fire pit and sits about 1.5 feet above like the mouth of the fire pit. And as long as you got your hot fire, it gets to about 600 or 700 degrees. Buddy, let me tell you, we made 4 pizzas last night.
Ooh, that sounds delicious.
Yeah, I had to keep a hot fire going. And I'm the guy that can sweat in a freezer. Okay? I told Terry earlier, I had to change shirts twice, but I don't care. It was awesome. I can't wait to use it again. But this thing was fantastic. And my wife got the accessories to help you like turn it to get it all, because the back is a lot hotter than the front and all that. But if you've ever been, I love, like when I go to New York City, we go to like a couple of different places, like Johnny's Pizza in Midtown, like with the real coal-fired ovens, or like a good brick oven, like a real brick oven pizza. Some people say they are, but it's really not. But this thing, dude, for what, it was great. So I was because I love pizza. I love cooking. I don't like sweating, but I'm used to it. So keeping a fire that was that hot for a while was a bit of a chore on a day that was already 90 degrees in the shade. But it was
keeping
cool.
you from not losing too much water.
Yeah, but I
sweating to death.
Just drink some water. I might have had a beer,
making you have to drink double the water to hydrate.
So,
but as one does, you wouldn't have really celebrated Father's Day appropriately if you got a new I guess way to make food and you didn't enjoy it.
Oh,
like
right away.
A cold one.
Well, we weren't sure because, we had not done this. And I was like, oh, no. And then we just kept going. And my 19-year-old who loves to cook, she basically took charge. Like, Dad, it was you do the fire, I got the pizza.
Nice.
And she killed it. So, and then everybody else just got to eat.
The best job is just eating and telling you how it goes.
Highly recommended. So free plug for Solo Stove and their accessories. Those of you who already own one, you already know how great they are, but check them out and enjoy. All right, this is now officially official. Mark Kingston has been hired as Creighton's associate head coach and will become their head coach in 1 year's time, or at least at the end of Creighton's season next year. Longtime coach Ed Service announced that he would retire next year. Creighton said that they would want his successor to be on staff for 1 season. So that will be Mark Kingston. I know that Mark was up there last week and said that he felt like maybe it was a really nice opportunity for him if he got it. And clearly he and the family think it is. So Mark Kingston will be moving to Creighton, which, of course, is in Omaha. Let's see. Mark made, again, 4 tournaments, 2 supers. But at South Carolina, that's underachieving relative to expectation.
It'll be tough in the Big East, too. Big East is getting a little better. Connecticut made us supers.
Yeah.
St. John's got an at-large bid.
Got in, yeah.
Had a good season in doing so. So
Creighton,
Big East getting a little better in baseball, elevating its baseball profile.
When I was in college, Creighton made the World Series. I remember that. I know Brian O'Connor was on that team. I remember more that Andy Bennis's brother, Alan Bennis, was on that team for Creighton, which was a big deal to them. But trying to see here this year, 35-17, 6th in the Big East, but didn't qualify for the conference tournament. So what, like 4 teams go?
That's what it sounds like. I can't imagine every team that plays in the traditional Big East basketball tournament has a baseball team.
Yeah, I don't know. Coach Service was there 21 years. They have been to the tournament just 5 times. So Mark will be charged with putting them back into the tournament on a more regular basis, but that is official now. Mark Kingston, associate head coach for a year, and will take over as head coach of the Creighton Blue Jays in 1 year's time. We told you a little bit earlier, but we'll come back around to it. Carolina Baseball has announced that Dalton Mashore, a senior outfielder from St. Mary's, will be joining the team this past season. 338, 13 homers, 41 runs batted in, 11 steals, which was a team high, and fielded 994, just 1 error in center field. He was on the West Coast Conference's second team and also made the WCC All-Tournament team this past season. He'll have 1 year of eligibility left, but Dalton Mashore coming all the way across the country to play for Paul Maneri and the Gamecocks. It's a good pickup.
It is, especially considering he's getting better. He's actively getting better. Last season, he hit 240 on the season, and that batting average has jumped up to 330. He's got an OPS over 1,000. There's only 2 guys on that team to have an OPS over 1,000. So he's actively improving. Maybe a little bit of a late bloomer, but never a bad thing to have a reliable glove out there in center field and somebody who's going to be able to get on base.
Yeah, and I think, listen, I really do believe, despite some of the things that we saw about Carolina's defensive numbers, we saw with our own eyes, especially late in the year, how defense just let them down. There's no other way to put it.
Especially in Hoover.
Yeah, it just let them down. Even in the regional, it's funny how in a couple of games in Hoover and the 1 win in the regional, they overcame the bad defense.
Right.
But that's not that you can't keep walking that tightrope. And I do think that's going to be an area that Paul Maneri looks at and really says this must improve, period. How drastically and dramatically in one season, I don't know yet.
It's like it's non-negotiable.
Yeah, but I think that's just something that must improve. And so many of them, too, as we talked about, were like the mental mistakes that led to the physical errors, like not knowing the situation or panicking,
hesitancy.
Yeah.
They were,
you can't do that,
throws
man.
From third to first, there might have been a little bit of like a double pump or a hesitancy.
I mean, anybody that's played baseball, I know you hated it. I know I did, man. But situational practice, your coach screaming at you when it's hot with that fungo bat. And I mean, but just rapid fire situations, and you just have to know what it is that you're doing. And just too many times it looked like Carolina just was a little lost there. So to bring in somebody who made just 1 error in 56 games as a regular center fielder where you're going to get action, that's a good year, man. That's a good year. I'll take that.
It's automatic.
Yeah, that's pretty good. There you go. And once again, if you missed it, in our top of the hour, Nick Harbour will not be participating in the U.S. Olympic trials. He did qualify in the 200 with a time of 20 seconds, 20.2 seconds. It was good enough for qualification, but upon review with Coach Tim Hall at Carolina Track, he and Nick decided to forego this year's Olympic trials, rest up, after a long spring, get ready for football season, and continue to pursue his track goals as he gets a little bit older. And even Steve Fink in a statement saying they felt like maybe semifinals. And again, you're talking, not like 4 people in a semifinal. You're talking about 16 people in a semifinal. And trying to narrow that down probably to 4 guys that are going to get chosen to run for the United States. Maybe 6 if you have alternates for the relays and stuff.
And realistically, the goal was always 2028.
Yeah,
if you would have gotten it this year, you were so far ahead of schedule. It would have been remarkable.
Yeah, it would have been phenomenal.
Remarkable story for him to have made it this early.
Yeah. So there's a couple of headlines for you right there. All right, come back on the other side. Drive around the SEC. A former football coach is suing his school. But over what? And should he? Part of the drive around coming up.
As you're about to find out from our drive around the SEC, there is an SEC coach who is blaming his old school for not reaching a certain milestone. I have the opposite effect with my friends over at Columbia Secret for Weight Loss. For the couple of months now, I've been working with Paul Grant and Shaylin over there, and they've been great with coaching me and helping me achieve my goal and helping me live a healthier lifestyle. Yes, it's Columbia Secret for Weight Loss, but one of the best parts of the program is the coaching to help you eat better, live healthier, and all of that lets you sleep better, look better, and ultimately feel better overall. It did wonders for me. I didn't just lose 20 pounds, but I've established significantly better eating habits, something that I've always kind of struggled with throughout my life. If that sounds good to you, and if you'd like to learn the secret of losing to up to 1 pound of unhealthy fat per day and start your own success story, give them a call, 803-824-4210, or go to ColumbiaSecretForWeightLoss.com. Results may vary. From the WIS Traffic Studios, I'm Elijah Campbell. A few accidents to get to you here that are causing some issues on the roadways here in the Midlands. All of these are going to be in Richland County. We'll start with one on Forum Drive at Fashion Drive. Got another one on Highway 1 at Augusta Road at O'Neill Court, and another one on Augusta Road at I-77. Got a pair of accidents on 77 southbound, one after US 21 near exit 24, and another one at the Farrow Road exit 19. Lastly, we have an accident on US 378 near Highway 769 and Congaree Road that is also causing some mild traffic backup.
It is Drive Around the SEC time. Just a quick update from the College World Series. Again, Florida has advanced today. It's an all-SEC versus ACC affair, and the first two schools that have been eliminated are out of the Atlantic Coast Conference. Virginia beaten yesterday, and NC State today. Tonight, it's an all-SEC game as A&M takes on Kentucky. The loser will play Florida tomorrow. The winner will advance until Wednesday. Tennessee has already advanced into the winner's bracket as well. And then tomorrow afternoon, by the way, there's another game. It's Florida State and North Carolina. So 3 walk-off wins in the first 4 games. And while not a walk-off, A&M beat Florida with a home run-saving catch in the 9th inning that would have put Florida up 4-3. Instead, A&M held on for the win.
Said Jay Slaviolette. If he was 3 or 4 inches shorter, maybe that ball's out. Well, he made a great play on it.
And as we said earlier, too, that ball goes out of every park in the Southeastern Conference.
Yes, because I think the dimensions do move back to about 408 at that point of the ballpark.
I mean, basically, most SEC walls are just inside the warning track in Omaha. It's a much bigger ballpark. So that would have easily been out.
With winds coming into the stadium more so than they do going out. The ball does not fly out of the Schwab frequently.
So here's the interesting story today in the Southeastern Conference. This came out around lunchtime. Les Miles is suing LSU. He is also named the NCAA and the National Football Foundation as defendants. The National Football Foundation operates the College Football Hall of Fame. His lawsuit says that he was deprived, I'm reading this verbatim from Adam Rittenberg's piece, deprived of property rights to the vacated wins and his nomination for the Hall of Fame, which must be done by those affiliated with an NCAA member school. Coach Miles basically is saying that LSU was going to work with him over this. Now, y'all remember last year, LSU had to vacate 37 wins of the Les Miles era because of several recruiting violations. Those wins took him from 145 career wins all the way down to 108. Coaches, and the winning percentage matters too. He had a winning percentage before the vacation of those wins of .665. After those wins were taken away, he had a percentage of .597. Coaches must have a winning percentage of at least 600 in at least 100 games to qualify to be selected to the College Football Hall of Fame. Certainly not an automatic at that point, but those are the bare minimums. He's now 70 years old, of course, won a championship back in 2007, 2 SEC titles as well. According to his attorney, Peter Ginsburg, quote, "Our theory is over the course of his career, Les had certain achievements that he had a right to accept. In this instance, they triggered being on the Hall of Fame ballot. When that was stripped from him without any notice or due process, that action effectively deprived him of the property right to be on the ballot." According to the lawsuit, LSU's, quote, "decision not to provide Miles with any form of due process was made in agreement with the NCAA and in furtherance of the LSU defendants' negotiations with the NCAA concerning additional and more severe penalties that otherwise likely would have been imposed on LSU and its athletics program." They're basically saying that Les Miles had no say in the negotiation over what LSU ultimately agreed to from a penalty standpoint. And so here we are. I get why he's griping, but honestly, it's like, Coach, how many passes did you throw? How many tackles did you make? I mean, you're making this all about you, dude, and you oversaw or either chose to turn a blind eye towards a number of things. And people will say, well, some of those things aren't illegal now or not against the rule. I don't care. They were then. And that's not even really what he's arguing. He's just saying he had no part in the process.
I know what he did have part in.
Cheating?
No, this is a fate worse than cheating.
Okay.
Taking the job at Kansas and going 3-18.
Well, there you go.
Because you know what he would still have if he never took the Kansas job and never completely torpedoed an already torpedoed program? He would have a winning percentage.
The proper winning
60.
percentage, yeah.
Yeah, so don't blame LSU for you going and making Kansas an even worse place to play football than it previously was. That alone should get you out of contention for the College Football Hall of Fame. A 3-18 stint at Kansas is basically the equivalent of losing a national championship. Therefore, he is at 0 real national championships. Congratulations, Les.
The lawsuit also states, from Miles' perspective and that of his agent, who is different than his attorney, I might add, that the bulk of the infractions actually occurred around the basketball team, and that Will Wade was directly implicated in the violations. The basketball penalties did not include vacated wins. And Mr. Ginsburg, again, Miles' attorney, said, quote, "I have no doubt that Coach Wade was made aware of and participated in the resolution with the NCAA, but Les was not involved in any way." Help me out here. During some of the, and I'm being serious. Now, clearly, at that point, Les Miles was no longer employed by Louisiana State University. Was Will Wade still employed for a time as they were trying to figure out some of these penalties? Because remember, LSU basically said, we'll keep you until we can't keep you. That's what they did for Will Wade because there was no finality yet, right, to the NCAA case.
And Will Wade's straight-up refusal to cooperate prolonged the investigation a whole lot more than it normally would have.
I think you make an interesting kind of side point to this that they don't want to discuss, and that he went and really he seemed about as interested in coaching Kansas once he got there as he might be in, like a root canal or a colonoscopy or something.
He's reporting for duty.
Yeah, I mean, he got a paycheck. But other than that, like, why'd you go do it, Les? You knew what you were getting. There again, you knew what you were getting into. And if the Hall of Fame meant that much to you. Plus, can I be honest? I don't think he's really worthy of the Hall of Fame. I know he's got the numbers for it, but just because you've got the numbers doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be in the Hall of Fame. You might not have all of it. I mean, you could make a case that he underachieved at LSU, again, relative to expectation and support.
His one national championship that he did win was with 2 losses in the season. It's the only 2-loss national champion in the history of college football. I think that says something, too.
Yeah.
And there's another coach that is just at that 59.6 mark or whatever on winning percentage. That's Mike Leach. And if you gave me a ballot that said, hey, which one of these do you want to break the rules for?
Right.
Les Miles or Mike Leach?
Right.
I'll do it to the guy that helped invent one of the offenses, one of the most influential offenses to the history of football, and whose contributions to the sport deeply outweigh Les Miles's, despite never winning a national championship or never even really being close.
Oh, well said, man. Well said. And when you look at Les's stops at Oklahoma State and LSU, Kansas notwithstanding, I would argue that those schools have more support built in than any of the stops that Mike Leach made.
Absolutely. And especially considering when you just go back and look at Mike Leach's history, all funny stuff aside that he was as a person, because he was a hilarious person, but go back to and realize that him and Hal Mummy created the air raid offense in a couple of trailers at Iowa Wesleyan.
Right.
And then that offense is now all over the place today. The guy is an innovator of the sport, and I do not give a rat's what his head coaching winning percentage was.
No, that's fair. I guess I don't. If you had just said, hey, would you? And I don't have a vote, but do you think Les Miles is a Hall of Fame coach? I'd be like, nah, I don't think so. He was good, but I wouldn't say he was Hall of Fame.
He gets a vote to go into the Elijah Campbell Hall of Very Good. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, he's good, but I don't say there's a lot of coaches I've seen. I'm like, he's not one of those.
I'm all for having a separate museum that's the Hall of Very Good or the Hall of What If. Really cool with that.
Yeah.
And Les Miles is in the Hall of Very Good, but you're not getting to the top floor, buddy.
But the bust of the coach is kind of ugly looking, and it's like,
well, it's what they would be like if they were in The
make
Simpsons. That's all it is. It's not even a bust. It's just them from The Simpsons. If they were in a Simpsons episode, what they would look like.
Blurry pictures.
Yeah, blurry. Not 100% accurate.
Right.
And the
bad courtroom sketch.
The description written below that picture or bust is more comically written than it is biographically written.
Like Les Miles doesn't really know how to clap. He claps funny. Remember how he did that? He clapped funny.
He ate more grass than times he won national championships with 2 or fewer losses.
Why can't you just clap with your hands the way people clap? Why you got to make them all open wide and weird looking? Just clap, man. Yeah, he's not. I don't think he's a Hall of Famer.
No, I don't think so.
Have no way of knowing whether or not this is a good case to bring or not. And you can't really settle this, can you?
No.
I mean,
What are they going to do? Give them the wins back?
yeah, they're
on
not going to
paper?
put the wins back on, bud. Like, sorry. That's the drive around the
Tough
SEC,
stuff.
brought to you by Herndon Chevy. Save 20 grand off new Silverados together. Let's drive. All right, Elijah quizzes me over big money donors coming up. 11 minutes in front of 6 o'clock on this Monday afternoon. Final segment of the postgame show coming at you. Jay Phillips, Elijah Campbell. For the last few weeks, this segment has often been one where Elijah quizzes me. But again, really, it's, as we said earlier, more sports talk sadism than it is actual quizzes.
I'm not mad that you didn't get some of the FCS or FBS.
Got a couple
mascots because I made them difficult for a reason. You know, they can't be blatantly obvious.
I got the Northern Illinois Huskies. I got the ODU Monarchs.
You did. So but you redeemed yourself on the final day.
Yeah. Who would I got? Who the Flashes?
The Golden Flashes of Kent State.
Kent State. Yeah. That was I'm there, but again, I'm here for the music on this.
And we were running out of mascots, so I've had to mix it up a little bit. This one can take us for a while. This is a fun one.
Okay.
So I got this loosely based off of one of my favorite college football podcasts. They do a similar game. The podcast is the Shutdown Fullcast, but the premise is the same. I will name a billionaire donor, and you got to match this billionaire donor with the school they donate to for athletics.
Okay.
So number 1. Walt Waltosh. He's an aviation software pioneer, founder of Words Plus Inc., and is known for being the first person to create an integrated communication system based on a personal computer. This is the same communication system used by Stephen Hawking. He is a billionaire donor. And if you would like help, I will give you 3 schools. One of them is the correct school, and you choose.
Okay. I mean, a guy like that, I was just going to say... So now I feel like I should, if you're going to allow me a multiple choice.
Yes, I'll give you.
Okay, then
choice.
Go ahead. All right, but I'm going to hold on before you do. I'm going to write down what I was going to say, and then I'll show it to you in just a minute. So I've now written it down. You can see without reading it that I have written something down. Okay.
And the 3 schools you choose from: Southern Cal, Auburn, Georgia Tech. You're close on your guess. I can read it from here.
You can't, yeah.
I can read it from here.
Well, then Southern California?
It is not. Walt Waltosh is a graduate of Auburn and donates a whole lot of money. The largest gift in Auburn athletic history.
Wow.
Given by that family. Number 2, Bradley Wayne Hughes, founder of Public Storage, the largest self-storage company in the United States. He has donated millions to a famous actor's run for public office. This famous politician / actor will come up later in the game as well. Your multiple choice, is it Cal, UCLA, or Southern Cal?
Let's go UCLA.
Close. Same city, wrong school. He is a Southern Cal donor, and that famous actor turned politician that he donated millions for in his campaign is Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Okay. I was going to say it's either like him or Ronald Reagan, but I figure he's probably not that old.
Exactly. Yeah, this is still 2000s. This is the second Arnold Schwarzenegger donor we have on the list. This is Les Wexner. Aside from donating millions to Arnold Schwarzenegger's governor campaign, he is the CEO of L Brands, which includes Victoria's Secret and Bath & Body Works. Also known as the Bra Baron, Les Wexner gave this school $100 million. Is it UCLA, Michigan, or Ohio State?
Michigan.
So close. Ohio State. Les Wexner is the most lucrative, donor to Ohio State athletics. 0 for 3. You got one more to redeem yourself.
Why didn't you ask me T. Boone Pickens, man?
That'd been a fun one just to read off.
Sure.
T. Boone Pickens. This is Al Dunlap, corporate executive specializing in professional turnaround management and downsizing. His history of mass layoffs earned him the nickname Chainsaw Al or Rambo in Pinstripes. He was sued by a different kind of SEC, that's the Securities Exchange Commission, in 2001 for allegations of massive accounting fraud during the turnaround of some of his purchased companies in the mid-90s. Is Chainsaw Al was he, rest in peace, was he a mega donor for Miami, Florida State, or Florida?
Just because of what he did, I'm going to say Miami.
Okay, you're guessing that Chainsaw Al, or as he was known as, Rambo in pinstripes.
I mean, like living on a boat somewhere down there and, hobnobbing. I mean,
sued by the SEC.
Yeah, not a lot of hobnobbing with that type on a regular basis in Gainesville or Tallahassee, with all due respect. But Miami, sure.
Absolutely love that guess, but it's an incorrect guess.
Damn it.
Because Chainsaw Al was one of the largest donors of the Florida State Athletic Department for the longest time.
All right. Yeah, I don't know any of those people. I know some of the companies that you mentioned, like Public Storage. They got those everywhere, man.
Everywhere. Yeah,
Yeah.
it is the largest storage company.
It's actually a good investment, I'm told,
In
if
the
you
United
own those
States.
places. I mean, people need storage. That's not bad.
They're always going to be. And their founder, Bradley Wayne Hughes, might have had a hand in helping some championships get won.
I guess that's it for us today. I'll try it again tomorrow. See y'all.